Welcome to episode 3 of Quest for Gold, a show here that we are going to be doing on Daily Faceoff, covering the women's hockey tournament at the 2026 Milan Winter Games. Ann-Sophie Bettez and Madison will be joining me along for the ride during the duration of these games as we follow both the Canadians, the Americans, as well as the rest of the tournament ongoings for the women's hockey. We're going to be doing a couple segments. We also have a live stream that we will tell you about. That's going to be happening on Tuesday, February 10th. Yes, Canada will be playing the U.S. that day. We'll be having a live stream. Lots of guests will be joining in. It should be tons of fun. Standout performers and standout games as well. All right, let's get this one started. Canada defeats Czechia by a score of 5-1. And so we sat and talked about the Canadian performance after the first game and how they would look in their second game. But right now, the cause for concern is their captain, Marie-Philip Poulin, and her health status going forward in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge loss for Canada if she's not able to get back in this tournament. And I remember when we were at the World Championship in 2019, she got hurt and we ended up winning bronze. So that's a little of a concern because, a lot of the expectation relies on her. We all know how much she could be a game changer, and she has been in the past Olympics. Now with her being out, you could see that she was able to get herself up, go back to the bench, but you could see the following shift where, like her leg or knee seems to be a little off. And the fact that she came back, I mean, in the first period at like 125 left in that first period shows how much of a leader she is. And I know her, I know she wanted to be on the bench and she probably would have wanted to be on the bench for the whole game. But the doctors probably said, we're going to take you away. But that is a huge concern. And sometimes, like, the hit itself wasn't, like, the problem. It's mostly, like, how, like, she fell, or I don't know if the skate got tweaked into the ice, but definitely looks like a knee injury to me.
Two ways of looking at it, Madison, as we look forward in this tournament. One, if you're Marie-Philip Poulin, you obviously want to play, but two, if you're Canada, do you even risk it against the Americans?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question because I think that you have to look at both sides of things. One, what does she bring physically and from a playing perspective? But two, what does she bring from a leadership perspective? So I think obviously, like you said, she's going to want to play. There's not a long tournament, but there's lots to play with, lots of time to recover, etc. So I think it'll be a risk and reward analysis conversation from the coaching staff and with her. I think I could see them going either way and saying, okay, we'll dress you, see how it feels during warmups. And then at the very least, we have you from a leadership presence on the bench. But on the other side, you maybe give someone else an opportunity who, if she isn't ready to go and she isn't healthy, and it's the kind of thing that, right, you look at, she has a season to go back to. Well, she wants to leave it all out there for what is presumably her last Olympics. She has a season ahead of her as well. So there's a lot looking at what the injury might be, a lot of speculating, but I could see Canada going either way. And I think that the hope is that she's okay because, obviously you want the best matchup from both sides, and a healthy Poulin gives you that.
When you look at it from the game perspective, and so going to this Canada game against Czechia, we talked a lot about their game and what maybe they could have done more. What is something that you picked up on most in this Canadian win?
Well, first of all, I like the way that they were able to put up some goals, especially in that first period. I mean, they weren't the greatest goals. And, we look at Stacey's goal that probably the goalie should have made that stop, or a few saves should have been made. But, I mean, it's easy to say from here, but a goal's a goal. And what I liked is that we saw depth scoring from Canada. And this is what we haven't seen. We look at Kristen O'Neill, who had her first career Olympic goal. So that's pretty cool. Like last Olympics, she was on the backup squad, with the pandemic. She wasn't able to have a medal. So, when Troy Ryan announced that O'Neill was part of the Olympics this year and, hopefully she's going to get a medal, today was a great way for her to contribute. And, I thought that Renata Fast played a great game, like especially that first period where she got her first penalty. And then Canada went down at 3 because they already had a penalty killing. And I love the way that she bounced back right from her coming out of the box and speeding with the puck, getting into the zone, so I like the fact that they were generating a bit more offense from their defense, and that's going to be able to carry them to score more goals, and I think that's what they showcased today.
Let me ask you it in this way, Madison. Canada will need to do what to go toe-to-toe with the Americans on Tuesday?
I think Anso just touched on it. They're going to need to get contributions from their back end. The U.S. has that in Caroline Harvey and Layla Edwards. They have a lot of depth. Lee Steckline, the list goes on. Keller, they have depth on their back end. And so it was nice to see contributions from that with Canada today. They're going to need that because the U.S. has contribution from their back end, and that doesn't even touch on then the depth that they have up front. So I think that Canada is absolutely going to need that. They're going to need to play as a cohesive unit. They're going to need to move the puck a little bit quicker. I did think that they played better in today's game, and it was hopeful also that they had the game that they did, and you factor in that they didn't have contributions from players like Poulin. So I think that if I'm Troy Ryan in that executive office, I'm happy. I think that the team showed a little oomph and a little grit coming back from just a win, like we said, but still a performance that left us kind of wanting more. But they're going to need their defense to step up again if they want to compete with the U.S.
Let's talk a little bit about that U.S. game. 5-0 over Switzerland. And when you take a look at, you mentioned the depth, and we've watched it throughout the entirety of this tournament so far, Madison, 5 different goal scorers for the Americans in this one.
Yeah, I think it's incredible. I mean, we've touched on the veteran versus rookie presence. We're going to continue to talk about it because the rookies are just so huge in the entire puzzle here that we're putting together. I mean, they have contributions from Wynn. They have players that are all over the ice. Harvey has her first Olympic goal in a 3-point game, and she's driving a ton. I mean, she's not just getting points, but she's also then creating a ton when she's not on the score sheet. So I think the U.S. is very happy from top to bottom with their performance. I think that they maybe relied on their goaltender a little more than they wanted to. On the flip side, I thought that despite the outcome, the Swiss actually had a lot that they could walk away from that game being happy about. I think that from what I've seen thus far, I would say that they're probably the third best team in this tournament. I think that they're very well coached. They're very disciplined in how they play. They have a good structure, and so they execute things well, and they don't give up a lot. They've been very, very disciplined thus far. Again, despite the scores, I think that team has a lot to be proud of. So I liked the game today. I thought the U.S. rose to the occasion, and they're a really, really fun team to watch right now.
Yeah, fun is the operative word. They feel like they are having a lot of fun out there each and every game. And so this U.S. team, and in this tournament, the way you go about it, I think for the most part, is you want to be playing or at your peak, obviously is later in the tournament. But the U.S. peaked early, and they continue to peak and get better. So for them, when you look at it from their perspective, how are they able to keep this so consistent?
It's funny that you say this because I'm a financial planner, and a lot of people talk about the market going and beating records and beating records and beating records and hitting new highs. And I feel that's exactly what's going to happen, or what's happening with the U.S. team. It's like almost we don't believe that it's going to get a new high, but it still does. And, if we even go back from I'm going to bring it back, the rivalry series, again, it seems like these players have been playing forever together. And that's just what's kind of amazing to see, and how good they are now. And I think it just get better because they'll know each other even more. They build more chemistry. So I feel it's just a matter of hitting new highs one after another.
Madison, do you change your game at all based on opponent, or you can only focus on yourself if U.S.? Because they're playing Canada tomorrow, probably will be the toughest test for them so far in this tournament.
I think they just focus on themselves. I think that they're happy with what they've seen thus far. I think that they maybe have a little bit of freedom and liberty to be creative, but I don't know if we'll see much of that because they're very business focused. I think that they're head down. They're focused on the task at hand. They realize that tomorrow is an opportunity to see what they might see in a future round, but they're also they're playing for first place. I mean, that's important. That dictates who you get to play and in the qualifying rounds moving forward. So while it's a quote unquote preview game, it's also a game that means a lot. And I don't think that they're going to overlook it. And so if I were them, I wouldn't change much because I would be happy thus far with what I've seen.
And so we'll start with you on this one. I want to get to your thoughts right after as well, Madison. When you look at it, you mentioned it's a preview game. You don't do coaching staffs maybe not let everything out of the bag? Do you keep them things close to your vest into maybe game planning or what you want to do because you know that this is the team that you may face later on in the medal round?
No, I mean, sometimes it's like, oh, I'm not going to pull this face off or I'm not going to pull this power play. But I think it's just a matter of the way you want to play and you want to perform in the final game, hopefully, is the way you're going to build blocks. And it's not by keeping it close to the chest that you're going to be able to practice those things. And it is a short tournament, and especially with Canada's change in the schedule, I mean, the secret will be to probably try to play everybody, and especially now we don't know with Poulin. So it was just, and I think for them it's going to be a good test because if Poulin's not there for the final round, this might be the team that they will be facing in the final. So it's just a matter of who can be fitting together. Today we saw like Blair Turnbull with Laura Stacey and Emily Clark, which I love. And I mentioned that in the first game. And, you know, I thought that Gosling, it was a lot of pressure for her to be on that top line. And again, we look at her, she was put on the fourth line and the power play, again, was able to contribute. She had 2 goals today. So I think it's just a matter of keeping building, but definitely not holding back and keeping stuff in the back pocket, because in a hockey game, you know, anything can happen. It's read and react, and you can't always predict what's going to happen, but it's to play your heart out and, you know, may the best team win.
Yeah, I think we're not talking about a 7-game series. We're not even talking about a 3-game series, right? We're talking about 1 game, and then hopefully you play them again. But it all depends on who are we going to play in the quarters? Who do we face in the semis? I mean, these Switzerland, Czechia, Finland, these teams have pulled out games in the past. So I think that it provides more of an opportunity maybe for those players that are on the bubble, the players that you're looking to pull and plug into different role situations. It's an opportunity to try them out and see if you're happy, or if you're not, make a switch. You find obviously you risk tipping your hand on things that work, but you also learn things that don't. So you're able to tweak those going into the qualifying rounds. So I think that you'll see the best of what both teams have to offer. Hopefully we see Poulin out there, because that'll be, you know, the best of the best. But if not, to Ann-Sophie's point, I think it's a good opportunity for Canada to figure out what they're going to put together moving forward.
All right, well, let's get to one of our favorite parts here, where it was a little feature that we kind of started when the show started, a standout performer. All right, Ann, so we'll start with you. Give me your standout performer from this day at the Milan 2026 games.
My standout performer is Julia Gosling with her 2 goals today, getting her first Olympic goal and then her second, both played on the power play. But I just thought, again, as I mentioned a bit earlier, is she was paired up with Poulin and Stacey in game 1. And I remember, you know, we were talking about, is she the right fit? And, you know, with the PWHL, she's had a lot of success, and she was able to put some goals. And I think that's what we wanted to look into Julia Gosling. But today she was lined up on the fourth line. And I think that removes a little bit of pressure on her. And also, you're not facing the top line on the other side, so might be a little helpful. But the fact that she was able to contribute on the power play, it's not easy. And again, just dealing with that pressure. And she's a young player, and that's one of the great players that will be useful for Canada's future, because there's not that many youth out there. So that's a lot of experience that she's bringing. And the fact that she was able to contribute 2 goals today, again, was amazing. So really happy for her. And I thought it was a good moment to celebrate what she was able to contribute today.
I'm not biased, I swear. There's a lot of Badgers to choose from. So I'm going with another Badger. I'm going with Caroline Harvey. People sometimes call her KK Harvey. I think that she's just playing tremendous hockey right now, from blue line to blue line, goal line to goal line. She's incredible to watch. She's fun to watch move up and down the ice. She skates so well. It's like effortless. She makes plays happen from the blue line in the offensive zone. She's able to get back. I think she's playing like a grizzled vet. I've used that term a lot, but these kids are just, there's like no pressure. It's like they've been there from day one. And so I think for her to get a 3-point game, her first goal at the Olympics, is fun. I think that gets a little bit of a monkey off of her back. And it's just incredible that the back end is able to contribute the way they do. And I think that a lot of that stems from her. So she's been fun to watch. I think she's only going to continue to thrive in the tournament. And I think that score that first goal takes a little bit of pressure off of her. And to have 3 points in your first Olympic Games at all is incredible. To do it in one game against an opponent like Switzerland is pretty awesome as well.
Canadians and the Americans have been playing very well for each of their teams, but let's get to our standout games because I'm really looking forward to hearing Ann-Sophie's take here. And so you're going with the host nation for your standout game. Of course,
I have to. I mean, with their win over Japan, so we're talking obviously about Italy. Their staff is completely from Quebec, and maybe I'm a little biased too, Madison, what you are with the Badgers, but I just think it's outstanding the fact that they were able to, secure their place in the quarterfinal, which is huge. And you never know what can happen down the road. I mean, they're going to play Germany tomorrow, but I just thought that the way they showed a character against France, and I mean, when they played Switzerland, was it Switzerland? Anyway, that team that they lost, it was Sweden, 6-1. Sweden, they lost 6-1. It showed them where they need to be. But I just think that the way that they play hard, that they never give up, they always work. And that's the true character of what their coaching staff is bringing and asking them. And the fact that they're able to block shots, it's the willingness of doing those little things. And it wasn't an easy win, but all the little building blocks and stepping stone is just amazing to see all those little moments for those girls. And I remember talking to Coach Eric Bouchard, and he said, you know what, these girls are ready. And he came in. I have to remind you that he came in late in November, or it was such a short turnaround that the fact that they were able to practice, they had a change of coaching staff. It wasn't easy for them. It's like people coming out of retirement, going to play. I'm thinking about Kayla Tutino or Laura Fortino. So these are all amazing stories that, I'm just happy that they were able to secure that win and then advance to the quarterfinals.
All right, Madison, let's get to your standout game.
I'm going with the U.S. game again, but a little different take because I think there's a lot for the U.S. to be happy with and pull away from that game. They were able to get both their backup goaltenders in. I thought that was good for them to gain a little bit of confidence, get some experience. But I want to look also at the Swiss side. I think that there's a lot there, despite the score, that Switzerland can be happy about. I think that if you look at the game overall, right, there was one goal that was called back because of goaltender interference. I thought there was another one that could have maybe been called back because of goaltender interference. One went off a skate. So you take those two away, it's a 3-goal game. I think for them moving forward, they have to continue to build on and focus on the positive. They're in a tough bracket. They have to play a lot of good teams. But from what I've seen thus far from the field, I thought that they were the strongest team structurally. I said this before. I think that they're well coached. They have a lot of good systems. They play a very disciplined game. And I thought that overall, I was actually impressed with their play, again, despite the score. And so I think that hopefully they can rally from that moving forward in the tournament because I wouldn't be surprised to see them, come out of nowhere, so to say, in the qualifying round.
It's great stuff. Let's take a look at the standings before we wrap this thing up here for Group A. We'll take a look at Group B after tomorrow's set of games, but obviously U.S. 3 games played, 3 wins, Canada in right behind. Remember, Canada has that game against Finland on February 12th, the one that had to get postponed, and then obviously the rest of that group there. For the U.S., its next opponent is Canada, and that's where we are going to be live stream tomorrow. Pumped for it. We're going to have some guests. Make sure you tune in. Get involved in the chat as well. Ask questions to Madison, and so I will relay them. They will be happy, I'm sure, to answer all your questions and sick of hearing me ask questions as well. But it's Canada, it's the U.S. at the Winter Games in Milan on Tuesday as we wrap things up on episode 3 of Quest for Gold.